this is Matt from Mr. and Mrs. Quickflip.com, and wanted to just make a quick point on wholesaling real estate and how it's a pretty sweet little business to get into, considering you don't need a whole lot to get started. And what got me prompted on this is I heard some people talking about this book, The Lean Startup. I didn't read it, but essentially the theory is that it's how to basically start a business on a shoestring budget, with pretty much nothing. And there's very few businesses out there that can be started with practically nothing. And wholesaling real estate is definitely one of those businesses. So I wanted to kind of just make a point of it and definitely throw out, what is probably going to be needed when you get started in wholesaling real estate. And I'll talk about how much money Courtney and I probably spent on getting into it before we actually got our first deal, because there is a little bit of money out of pocket, but it's pretty minimal compared to what most businesses require when you're starting a new business. I mean, typically when you start a business, you need to get funding, or you need to have some funding to get it going. With this business, you do not need any funding. Courtney and I started with very little money. We started without a whole lot of savings. We didn't borrow any money to get this business started. We just kind of went after it. We did a lot of self-education on the subject of wholesaling, and we attended a lot of just real estate meetings and got caught up with the concepts and got kind of networked into the real estate investing community. And a lot of that was free. Some of that cost money, going to meetings, going to Denny's or IHOP, wherever these meetings are. You might need to buy a meal. Sometimes there's a $10, $20 cover charge to go to these meetings, but it's still pretty minimal. So we definitely recommend going to those things. Networking is what I think is one of the most effective ways to be successful in getting your real estate investing business going, and especially wholesaling. But here's the things that you just really need to get started wholesaling. One thing you don't need is a website. I know a lot of people get hung up on that. You don't need a website. You don't need business cards. You don't need a realtor lined up for you. Don't worry about all those things first. I would just start with your marketing and start on getting your first deal done, and then you can start working on kind of building out a business from there. But get your first deal done. Focus on that over anything else. So, what you probably need to get that done, more than likely, these are probably what I consider essentials. Internet connection. You're going to want to be able to use email. You're going to want to be able to surf Craigslist to look for properties or post properties when you get them. So that's pretty much essential. I think I have heard of people probably doing deals without the internet, but it's going to be a little bit tougher. But most people have it, so that's good. Phone, most people have a phone. That's good. You're definitely going to need a phone. You're going to need to talk to sellers and buyers and title companies and stuff. So I definitely recommend you have a phone, good cell phone plan. Get that going. You need contracts. Usually you can find contracts online for free. Just Google, real estate purchase contracts, and you can just print them right off. You're probably gonna need pen, paper, envelope, stamps. That's for your marketing. It's our favorite way of marketing is just writing letters to distressed homeowners, typically just vacant properties. And we never bought a list before, so all we did was drive around, look for vacant properties, and send them letters that said we want to buy their house. So that's very minimal expense there. Then you just need to line up who your title company or your closing agent is. Just line that up probably before you get your first contract, and make sure that they are going to take care of you on the deal. Make sure they're going to be able to do an assignment for you or a double closing. And one thing you'll probably need is some perseverance. Not everything goes right the first time around. It took us 3 months to get our first deal done, and we probably had 3 deals not closed because of certain issues, whether it's over encumbered on a mortgage, or over encumbered because there's too many liens or code violations, or the seller backs out, or you just can't find a buyer for it. There's going to be things that go wrong. and you're just going to need a little bit of perseverance. So, all these things are very minimal cost. A lot of them you just probably have anyway. So don't stress out over the things you need to get started in this business. So don't stress over that stuff. Just get started. And just as an example, I'll tell you what we probably spent before we got our first deal. We didn't invest a whole lot into marketing and websites and all that stuff. Definitely invested a lot of time into education. So that was probably our number one expense. But probably over the course of 3 months, before we got our first deal, we probably did say 500 mailings, and these are all pretty much handwritten letters. So you figure 500 mailings, and 45, 46 cents a stamp. That's around 220, 230 bucks. And then the pen, paper, and envelopes, so it's probably say 30 bucks. So figure 250 bucks there to do those mailings. And I probably spent 200 bucks on bandit signs. And that was probably about it. And so it's about say $500 that we spent in marketing. And that's over the course of 3 months before we got our first deal. So I think that's pretty typical. Obviously, if you have more money to spend into your marketing, I recommend doing that. Spend a little bit. Don't go crazy before your first deal. Get familiar with the process, but you can easily get to that first deal. Our first deal was $5,000, and we probably spent 500 bucks on marketing to get there. So I think that's about average. I have heard from other guys, it's probably a 10-to-1 ratio. For every dollar you spend on marketing, you'll probably get 10 times that back worth of deals. So if you do $1,000 of marketing a month, you should be able to do $10,000 worth of deals. So I think that's pretty much proven out for us. But the whole point of this was just go ahead, get started. Don't stress out over startup costs. And if you're looking to just start a business for yourself, wholesaling is a very viable business to do with not a whole lot required. So we certainly encourage you to get out there and do it. And let us know if you have any questions. Be sure you go to Mr. and Mrs. Quickflip.com for any additional training. We have plenty of free training videos on our site. And let us know if you have any questions or need any help. So that's it for me. Have a great day. Go out there and kick some butt wholesaling, do some deals, and we'll be in touch. Thanks.